Hi, and welcome back to the Inside of My Head, where I'm looking at the MONSTERVERSE movies. Ahead of GVK, and now it's time for Kong Skull Island, one I'm not the biggest fan of. So let's take a look and see if I still feel the same. The fuck is going on today? The words just are not flowing today. Flow, words, flow! Like a river, be free! Now in 2017, this one came out of the blue for me, with me somehow missing a lot of the trailers and run-up. I saw a couple of posters around, but it just wasn't really on my radar. So to me, it seemed like it suddenly appeared out of nowhere, and as such, I really had no idea what to expect, apart from the hope that they hadn't simply remade the Peter Jackson version, which at the time didn't seem like it came out all that long ago, but when I looked it up, it was actually all the way back in 2005, which, although my math ain't great, works out to being 152 years prior. Works out to being 12 years prior. So, ahead of seeing it, all I really knew was the title, which instantly tells you that this movie is going to focus on that one aspect of the story, and will probably push the other elements to the background. But I really wondered about how they were going to make this version any different from all the previous versions. But I needn't have worried, because within the first minute of Skull Island, you know that this is taking a totally different direction, with two World War II pilots falling out of the sky and trying to murder each other horribly, before discovering everyone's favorite ape and realizing that this is an island like no other. The title sequence gives us snippets from history, bringing us from that point in World War II to the end of the Vietnam War, where we meet Bill Randa and his assistant from Monarch, who finally get an approval to make an expedition to Skull Island. Bill Randa is treated as somewhat of a kook within the military, spouting superstition and fairy tales, and generally being a figure of ridicule. So anyway, with their expedition approved, the Monarch guys put together a ragtag group made up of a bunch of military guys, led by Sam Jackson, who, now that the war is evaporating around him, finds himself without a purpose and gets all grouchy about it. I just want to be out there killing people. Why won't they let me just... But at least he's still got his best bro here. friend. Then we come to the war photographer, and she's just such an easy target that I almost feel a bit bad. I'm gonna have to do it though. Later. So we have this war photographer and then this ex-SAS guy who's like a tracker, but oh my god. We've seen this character done so many times before and so much better than what this guy does. If you've seen my videos, you'll know that I am no fan of this guy. I'll always keep an open mind, and I'm sure he's just one project away from absolutely blowing my mind, and in which case I'll do a complete U-turn and go like, actually, I was wrong. He was an amazing actor. I apologize for everything I said. But the bottom line is I'm yet to see it, and this movie does nothing to change my mind. Or does it? There is a scene later that he has with Sam Jackson where something might have clicked into place, and I might have gone, oh, actually, I'm starting to kind of get this guy. But let's come back to that. So this island that they're going to is at the center of a perpetual storm that they have to break through before they start dropping seismic charges all over the island. What? They start doing what? The explanation at this point is that it will help them map the geology. But considering there won't be much geology left to map after they blow the fuck out of it all, it doesn't really make sense. But it will later, so let's put a pin in it. Back home, we used to have this show called Timeteam, where fucking Baldrick from Blackadder and his team of homeless people turn up in a field and start digging a hole, and then get in there with paintbrushes to dig out some fucking bones. Can you imagine if they were more like these guys and they just show up with a whole military arsenal and start fucking slamming the ground with sledgehammers going, "Show me the T-Rex bones!" But you know what, though? I make fun of Timeteam here in the same way that I kind of make fun of everything and expect to be made fun of, actually. But Timeteam was a brilliant show. It ran until 2014, until it was cancelled. And I just saw that they were on Patreon, raising money to try and get it back on the air. So I know this is a completely different audience, but if there is anyone out there who's interested in this kind of stuff, you know, go check it out. We get the obligatory montage to 70s music. And I have to admit, I love these sequences with the Hueys and the Black Sabbath or Creedence or whatever. There was a really cool one in We Were Soldiers. There was one in, what was it now? I can't remember. Oh, that's really gonna bug me now. It's kind of dumb, but it makes for a pretty cool sequence, which culminates in... Wait, how is Kong so accurate with his tree throwing here? I've said this somewhere before, but this is like if you threw a dart at a fly and somehow managed to hit it. I mean, instead, once Kong is done fighting Zilla, maybe he should enter a darts tournament. He would clean the place up, as well as being one of the more handsome contestants. Did I make this joke before? I only have 3 jokes. Anyway, Kong arrives and sends the expedition into absolute chaos. There's people getting eaten, there's people getting stomped, thrown into helicopter rotors. And there are some gorgeous shots to give King Kong the introduction he deserves here. All this carnage gives Sam Jack something to focus all of his bitterness on, and he goes full Captain Ahab. And look, you can see all of that legendary Sam Jack anger building up slowly. It's only a matter of time before it explodes. On the ground, the dust is still settling and the mission to regroup starts. The survivors are scattered all over the place, and they have to get the munitions off of the Sea Stallion so that they can kill King Kong. And I love this guy. He was great in Boardwalk Empire as Nucky's brother, and he pops up once in a while in this, that, and the other. He's a good example of what I really do look for in actors, and what that is authenticity. The example that I keep using is The Sopranos. All of those guys felt like they could be real wise guys, to me anyway. Whereas any of these guys feel like they are just drama school kids. There's nothing authentic about them. And this guy is a good example of somebody who feels authentic. Like, I don't know if it's true or not, but he feels like he's actually really like that in real life. And and when he does things like this, it's genuine character and personality that you're seeing, and not an act. Anyway, Sam Jack confronts this guy and explains, oh, the explosives were never about geology. You were trying to flush out the beast. And I guess that kind of does make some kind of sense. They meet a swamp cow and hello, and I love all of the moss and the matted fur that this has. It looks great. This guy gets tent-poled through the mouth by this creature, which has these crazy long bamboo legs and these tentacles with suction cups on the end, but the soldiers fill it full of hot lead. We meet John C. Reilly, who was one of the 2 pilots from the start, and he's been living with the natives of the island called the Iwis, and has obviously gone a little strange over the years. John C. Reilly is one of my favorite actors, from his more serious roles in Magnolia to his more silly work with Will Ferrell. I've yet to be disappointed by this guy. Sheer, utter class. This guy witnesses a pretty cool encounter between Kong and a giant squid. Before we explore more of the world of the natives, the big wall is here, but this time it's not to keep Kong out, it's to keep out something else. They take them to a shrine of sorts in a shipwreck and explain that these creatures called skullcrawlers terrorize the island, and Kong has become its protector. He's the last of his kind, and the rest of his species has been hunted to the brink of extinction by the largest skullcrawler.
You don't want to wake up the big one.
How big is it?
Fucking big, probably. We get this moment between Brie Larson and Kong, and whilst I don't dislike Brie Larson as much as some do, I do find her characters really difficult to rapport with. To me, it's fine that she's a strong woman who knows what she wants and has the drive and strength of mind to achieve it. The problem is that she comes across as not caring about anything else or anyone else, and that makes her seem self-absorbed, selfish, and spoiled. Like, I don't expect to be happy and smiley and giggly all the time. I'm not giggling, my fingers smell funny. But any character who takes themselves so fucking seriously all the time, and I'm looking at you here, Sam Worthington, is really hard to sympathize with. And as with so many other characters in this franchise, a large part of this problem is what she's given to work with here. So much of her role comes down to these sort of reaction shots where she's just staring at shit. There's one part where she's being quite playful with the military guys. There's another part where she's being kind of playful with the Iwis, and here she tries to save a swamp cow. But most of the film is either her just doing this, like there's even one part when a soldier tosses a cigarette into one of the vents and it explodes because of all the gases. Like, look how they react. And this is her reaction. She looks like she's zonked out on Ritalin. If that had happened to me, a grown man, my reaction would have probably been like, ah! So she's either doing that or making these little snide comments and trying to be superior to everyone.
Talk with him about it again? He seemed to really go for it the first time.
You can literally see the exact moment she goes back to thinking how her latest post is doing on Instagram. Acting, boards. This guy's taking a breather when his bench turns into a giant stick insect and he shoots it in the face, which makes it sad. And he's too busy feeling guilty to notice he's about to become skullcrawler food. Anyway, it's time for an A-Team style montage. The humans fix up a boat and make a break for the north side of the island to rendezvous with a rescue team when they're attacked by pterodons, and it doesn't end well for this guy. The groups finally join up and Sam Jackson ain't leaving without having vented his full frustrations on Kong. He really wants to go and save his friend.
Oh, friend! Oh, new friend!
Whether that's just an excuse to vent his full Captain Ahab bloodlust, much in the same way that your uncle who loves sending postcards to everyone, just off to the post office, dear, is probably just using it as an excuse to nip out and buy some crack. John Goodman is killed off mercilessly when they travel through a Kong graveyard where they're attacked by skullcrawlers, and one regurgitates this guy and Sam Jackson gets even more pissed off. You killed my friend! Tom Hiddleston, you're up. Come on, it's time for you to do something cool. And admittedly, it is quite cool where he slices his way through a bunch of pterodons surrounded by all this green smoke and, oh no, Bree's up next to do something useful and she throws a lighter in a hole and that's her contribution for now. But then she touches Kong's nose and this is where we see Bree actually do some acting and it's a pretty well acted moment. And oh wait, no, that's it, we're done. Just one shot later, she's back to pulling this face. Oh my god, a giant monster, I've never seen anything like it. It's terrifying, it's amazing, it's awe-inspiring. I wonder how my latest post is doing. Sam Jack starts blowing shit up again to lure Kong into a confrontation. He's about to blow Kong up when Tom Hiddleston shows up and look at this face. Sam Jackson is about to drown his beta ass in a puddle when the big skull crawler surfaces.
That's the big one.
How big is it?
Big! I mean, do you think he's got exact measurements? And Kong squishes Sam Jackson out of the franchise. What is it with them taking all of the good actors and killing them off in this series? Oh, and there you go, another actor that I like. He's up next. He pops a couple of grenades and blows himself up for absolutely no reason. At first, this really pissed me off. His death felt like a total waste. But actually, in hindsight, I really like how it was building up to be a real hero death and then whoop, nope, just another soldier KIA. Move along now. I still would have liked to have seen more of this guy though. Kong shows up to take on the giant skullcrawler and oh, it must be Breezy Bottom's turn to justify her presence in the movie again. So she fires a flare into the sky. Wait, how did she get up here so fast? Like, look at these surfaces. It's essentially a cliff she would have had to scale. It would have taken a day to get up there. Anyway, she fires a flare into the skullcrawler's eye before Kong takes it on, and we've seen this confrontation 100 times before, except for this bit where Kong gets tangled up in some chains, but then he uses them as a whip to deal with his skullcrawler. Before the skullcrawler tries to eat Breezy Bottoms while she's still in Kong's hand, and he rips out its tongue and all its guts and finally kills it. Is that how a tongue works? Like, if you pulled it really, really hard, all your internal organs would come out with it? Like, I thought it was just attached to the back of your throat somewhere. But yeah, those bits were pretty cool, but mostly this is a standard monster fight, and yeah. Kong beats his chest seeing the approaching rescue helicopters as if he knows that there's more of these annoying little pink fuckers on their way, and it's only gonna go downhill from here. John C. Reilly goes back to meet the family he's been separated from all these years, and the big question that was raised earlier was, would his wife have waited for him all these years? And the answer is, well, it's left ambiguous. Like, she takes him in and he meets his son and gets to watch a ball game. But you only see a snippet of her life. She might have a whole house full of other kids by other dads, you don't know. But as he says earlier, that's secondary to him at this point, and he's just happy to be home and meet his son and have a beer in front of the game. So that's one loose end that's quite nicely tied. And I'm glad that one of the actors that I actually like got to survive this franchise. So there's nothing particularly bad about this movie. But there's nothing particularly great about it either, to the point where I'm actually struggling to come up with points of interest to discuss. I just don't feel anything about this movie at all. Like, so much of the second half just blends together in your mind. I guess my biggest issue would be that the bond between these two is nowhere near as fleshed out as it is in Peter Jackson's movie. Here you see Kong laughing when Naomi Watts does a cartwheel, and he even pokes her over for his own amusement, which shows like a cheeky side, doing something a little boy would do. But in Skull Island, there's almost no time devoted to that. Sure, Kong rescues her and you see real fear on his face when he thinks she's about to get swallowed, but that connection the characters had, which I think was the real heart and soul of the 2005 movie, is really minimized here. But maybe as the little orphan girl Gia is going to be stepping into this role, maybe they were deliberately trying not to build it up too much with Brie Larson. But I am glad to say that they did do something very different with this incarnation of Kong, so I shouldn't really bring the 2005 version into comparison. Anyway, this is different to the other movies in the MONSTERVERSE franchise so far, in that whilst the other two films had their flaws, I still thoroughly enjoyed them. This one, it's not a bad movie, but I just didn't enjoy it. Was it because all of the human characters were just cardboard cutouts? Probably not, because they were in the other two movies. Was it because the plot was essentially, okay, let's go to the island, we crashed on the island, we need to get off the island? Quite possibly as well, but you know what, this franchise is not a place to look for deep, elaborate plot lines. Was it because Kong is just not as cool as Godzilla? Quite possibly. But regardless of the reason, the fact stands that this was probably my least favorite of all of the MONSTERVERSE movies so far. So guys, up next is my full review of GVK, so make sure you're all subscribed up for that. I've already done a spoiler-free review, so go check that out maybe. This next one will not be spoiler-free. I'm going to do a full plot recap. It's going to have full spoilers, full frontal male nudity. What? No? Well, I'm joking, but only because YouTube doesn't allow that kind of thing. I'm going to ask how it lives up to the hype. I'm going to compare it against the other MONSTERVERSE movies. I might check out some of what the other reviewers have said and compare that to my own views. I'm going to give it huge credit where it deserves it, but I'm also going to call it out on its bullshit. So keep your eyes open for when that drops. As usual, guys, please know that I am super, super grateful for you taking the time to watch my videos. So let me just say thank you so much for watching and see you very soon for the next one. Cheerio, bye!